Oh, oh, hey, I didn't see you there. I was busy sleeping. Well, sleeping in VR, because that's where I'm at, right? Let me put my stuff away first, and let's talk about that. Sleeping in VR. So I'll just let me just put this thing away here, and this. Wait. What is this? Oh God. Okay, that's not what I wanted to pull out. Okay. Give me a second. I'll be right back. Oof. Okay, VR sleeping. You've probably heard about it, right? From other people in VR chat or outside of VR chat. Maybe you've watched videos of people covering it where they're like, I tried VR sleeping and this is how it went. But, there's a lot of videos like that where, people like hear about it from around VR chat and they try out sleeping themselves with their headset. And it's usually, I don't know, sometimes it's a mixed experience because how the fuck do you sleep in VR? Especially when you got this big old thing on your head, right? And it's going to be very dependent on which headset you have on you, too. And like, there's not a lot of videos. I don't know, maybe I haven't seen them enough myself, but there's a lot of videos of people trying it out. Say, to experiment with sleeping in VR, but I don't think people make videos on how to sleep in VR. Like, in most of this is occurring in VR chat. It's VR chat we're talking about. Maybe there's some other like VR programs that exist out there where you can like be in a relaxing environment, or one meant more specifically for sleeping. But what I'm going to be covering today is mostly VR chat because there's a lot of maps that you might be familiar with. They're like the sleep and chill, or they might be just designated as sleeping maps. And people go to them to go to sleep, either by yourself or with others. And they have certain settings in them. So I can cover some of those, and then I can cover other maps too that aren't specifically meant for sleeping, but there are ways to sleep in them if you want to with some external tools. So I'll actually go over those. So just kind of give you most there's a ton of maps that have settings or this kind of atmosphere, but and they don't all have music. Some of them have the option of putting in music or not, because some people actually like sleeping in music. And of course, you're going to have your mirrors and everything. But you notice a lot of sleep maps will have more of a toned down atmosphere, the lighting. This one doesn't actually have pits. So I don't know if this makes a good map to show off. So here's the thing here. Let me turn down the music. Let me show you something. Before I get into like the actual physicality of doing the actual sleeping in VR, I have to talk about like what makes a proper sleep map. So I can show you here. Let me show you. Good sleep maps usually will always have like lighting settings, because the lighting and anything to do with the environment, the lighting and certain like sound effects and everything like that goes into helping someone have the best sleeping experience if they're going to choose a map for VR. Usually like maps with low lighting or very like, not a lot of like in your face kind of stuff, very calming like this. It's good when they have, let's see, sleep mode. Well, this is sleep mode. Let me see. Sleep mode actually lowers the brightness. And some maps actually do have a slider for the light and everything and the bloom. Your most basic sleep maps are going to have that. And notice this one doesn't actually. This seems to be a pretty popular map, but it doesn't have. This is another thing I'll have to discuss because, if you're going to be using any map for laying down, and how do you lay down in VR? There's so many different options, right? If you don't have full body tracking or something like GoGo Loco, for instance, which can modify your animations, which has a wide range of animations you can use to lay down or relax the body itself and then lock yourself in. GoGo Loco is really good, by the way. You should get that. But if at the most basic, you would be using stations. And most VR chat maps have chair stations. So if you click on the station, your avatar will sit down. Now, some maps that actually have beds or maybe even like couches like this thing does, which I don't know even notice. Like this thing has, does this have chairs? Oh yeah, you can like sit. You can sit right here. This has chair stations, but it doesn't have laying down stations, which they do exist. The map that I just showed previous to this, the Velvet Room, I have that actually. I'll show some of it later so I can kind of show like, I outfitted that for actually sleeping in, and all the things that I think are ideal for making a good sleeping map. But there's a lot of people who can't afford full body tracking at all, or who don't make their own avatars and can't incorporate something like GoGo Loco or animators that use laying positions. So the most basic thing that is good, like if you find a map for it, are bed stations, which act like chair stations, but are like long ways. And when you select them, they'll usually, what they'll do is they'll put the avatar flat, laying down. And it'll have your view like facing up, but it'll put you in a laying down position. Now, those are good for starters, but I notice often a lot of maps that they have a tendency to break. So sometimes they don't always work. And it will be dependent on whether you're actually standing up in VR or whether you're actually laying down. You'll have to tweak a few things to get it to work, because sometimes those bed stations will cause you to go through the object that you're laying on. So your head will be sticking out of the map or something. Your body will just be in a weird pretzel position. I don't know. It doesn't always work. That's why I would recommend, and this is good for, you can use this, and I'll demonstrate this later. But if you make your own avatars, or if you are commissioning someone that is making an avatar for you, like I mentioned, GoGo Loco is really good. It allows you to have those laying positions. And not only that, but allows you to lock in those positions as well. That way, because this is a thing even if you put a laying position, like an animation, on your avatar, the only problem with it is when you move your head, it'll actually move with you. I can probably show it. I may have one on this one. Let me check. So I'm actually laying down, and I look like I'm laying down, but I'm not actually laying down. I'm actually sitting. So how did I do that? There's another thing that is very helpful in maps that will allow you to lay down on them if they have colliders, even if they don't have bed stations. And it allows you to ease yourself down if you don't have FPT or anything like that. This avatar has a specific laying animation. Of course, I'm clipping through the colliders here, which is very strange. I think this is this specific laying animation is kind of angled. But one thing I've used that's extremely helpful for a lot of situations, especially if you don't have GoGo Loco. I used this before I incorporated GoGo Loco into more later avatar uploads that I've done. And the thing is GoGo Loco actually has a feature that allows you to raise or lower yourself. So it can be helpful when you have things that either have colliders or don't at different heights, right? Well, one thing that I've used that's extremely helpful for doing that outside of VRC, it's called OVR Advanced settings, specifically. It's a thing you can get outside of VR. I believe there's a GitHub for it. I'll put it in the video's description. But it allows so many different options for modifying your VR experience. And this one is extremely helpful for sleeping in. If you want to do VR sleep, I would really recommend OVR Advanced settings. Because for one, they have the ability, if you go into the offsets tab of OVR Advanced settings, it allows you to basically adjust your play space. And I use the y-axis adjustment a lot. So if you hit the plus, it sends you like, it makes your avatar move downward. If you hit the minus, it makes your avatar move upward. And this can be really helpful for adjusting yourself in different maps, whether they actually, honestly, whether they have colliders or not. Because not all maps have colliders, and sometimes you just want to lay wherever the fuck you want to lay, and not somewhere that's designated as a bed, right? Another useful thing, in especially maps who don't have brightness or any lighting settings that a lot of sleep maps do, is in the video tab, there's a brightness setting that you can toggle on and off. And it will basically kind of override the whatever brightness settings that you have in like whatever app you're using. It'll override that, and it has its like own brightness slider. And I found this extremely useful in VRC when I'm in maps that don't have maybe even if it is a sleep map that has a brightness setting, maybe it isn't dark enough, and you really want to turn like that lighting down. Like once you get settled in. And not the sleeping, you just want to like pretty much eliminate most of the light that's coming through the headset. OVR Advanced settings is really great for that, and you can easily toggle it on and off. It's very easy to do that outside of VRC. All right, now that I have that out of the way, I will go over the GoGo Loco stuff really quick, because it's really helpful if you actually do make avatars and you want to invest in it. I can show you a few things with that. And then after I get that out of the way, we're gonna have to tackle the main issue of VR sleep, which is actually how do you do it physically? How do you physically sleep? How do you physically sleep with a headset on your head? And it's gonna vary. But I will talk about that after I go over the GoGo Loco stuff. So stay tuned.
You need something?
You must be wondering why I'm in Just Be Club, but I will show you a very good place to relax. It is my favorite to go to sometimes here. So, something I didn't actually mention before, and it's it's something that's actually true. I did say that it was possible to sleep in any map you want to, not just sleeping maps, but I have to mention that maps that might be good for, the ERP word. Ooh, ERP. It exists. Get it out of the way. ERP maps, or maps that are good for that sort of thing, right? They're good for sleeping in too. They have options for sleeping. So consider that if you're looking for maps to sleep in, because they, of course, if people are going to get down and dirty, wherever they decide to do it, or there's maps that are more specialized for that, it makes sense that they're going to have like better bed stuff, right? And better options for sleeping in, right? It makes sense. You put it together. Here, let me show you. By the way, these have a great thing about a lot of these maps are, and this is good for just sleeping too. Like, say if you're doing partying or whatever the fuck you want to do, you want to separate from a group for a while. It's nice to have rooms that are locked, that you can lock in, like, private rooms that you can like just go off to yourself and go sleep if you want, away from like if you're doing like an event, especially in a map like this or wherever else, and you want to kind of like separate from people and you go off to your own and like sleep in VR for a little bit, or go on with a buddy, whatever the fuck you do with that. These maps are good for it. And here we have a bed. This is actually a nice one. I like this big bed here. This map actually has a lot of options for sleeping. And one thing I didn't notice, which can be helpful for people, and I know that it would probably, if you were going to make fun of it, but another thing that can be comforting if you don't have someone else to sleep in, because people very much do sleep with others in VR. You just, you can't avoid that, and I'm not talking about just ERP either. People actually do just sleep together. Some people have like, of course there's going to be the partiers and the people who get drunk. and just get wasted and fall asleep together in VR. That just happens, you know, at big events or whatever. Multiple people might just like pass out. Or if there's like a virtual con, that's just a thing that happens. Kind of like real life. But a lot of times people will have like, you know, VRC slumber parties or things like that. It's not really that weird. I've tried it myself. I do tend to be more of a private person, and sometimes, like if I do, early on when I was doing sleeping things, and inviting people to like, you know, sleep over for a night in a map, I did get social anxiety at first. But it helped a lot during a time when I needed to like cope with like a major thing going on in my life. So I don't know, you could try it and see if it helps you. Otherwise, you know, you just stick with sleeping on your own, find a nice relaxing map like this, and see what options are available for sleeping. Just Bees actually has, you know, it of course it has the mirrors. And they've got a nice tablet here, by the way. This thing's awesome. I love this fucking tablet. You know, some maps have it, but this, you know, Just Be's really decked out for this kind of stuff. It's got the bedroom tablet, but let me show you some things here. These have mirrors and stuff. Sometimes bed mirrors get a bad rep, but sometimes people find it relaxing, and, you know, they do this anyways in VRC. They might find it relaxing to stare into a mirror or as a calming thing. It could be a calming thing. So sometimes it's helpful to have mirrors on the beds too, because maybe you want to like, people will lay in avatars that they like, right? You know, maybe they lay as a character that they like or something. So, you know, having a bed, a bunch of mirror, or maybe they just like the way their actual avatar looks and they want to look at themselves. So having like a ceiling mirror or something like that can be really helpful or calming, you know. And Just Be actually has rain too. That's another thing that I have in my map. Let me see if I can turn down I need to turn down the volume here. There we go. So I can actually hear myself talk. You might be hearing, there's like different ambience too that this map has. I don't have let's see, there's world settings here. This has rain, yes. For me, rain in maps or any sound with water running is a must for me. And some other maps, which I can show later, actually have fans incorporated, because some of us actually sleep with fans. If you have tinnitus or anything, sleeping with something that resembles white noise or something like a fan can be really helpful. Even like running water or rain, it can be really calming. Even if it's not real rain, sometimes the brain will respond to something that's simulated like this, and still, like, you know, the body perceives it as actual rain because of the sound, and then you get that calming feeling as if you're actually sleeping to rain. So, you know, in sleeping maps, rain is a must. This map has a fireplace, so you have the crackling of the fireplace that can help you calm down and sleep too. Noise, honestly, like, if the visual stimulus in VR chat doesn't quite work for you, to help you relax, especially when sleeping. Sound can be very impactful, like, to people. Sound can be very important. So, like, you know, just the ambience can help, like, soothe the brain. If you can't quite immerse yourself visually, then maybe the sound itself can help you kind of, like, immerse yourself and relax and kind of get in that headspace. It's very similar. This is a therapeutic thing, and it can help with sleep, especially if you have insomnia, anxiety, or anything like that. And that's why VR is especially good for this, if you don't mind me speaking about this. But when I was trying to cope with the deaf thing, therapists recommended, like, I forgot what it was called, but it's guided imagery. And they would normally recommend you to, especially like when you're trying to sleep and you're having trouble sleeping, if you have like anxiety, panic attacks, or insomnia, they recommend you to watch these videos. And basically, it's like a video that shows different images that could be relaxing or themed around a certain thing. And people will like, they might be talking in the video to try and like guide you to get you into a meditative state, or there might be music. Now, in my opinion, based on what I've experienced, VR is almost like taking that to a whole nother level. That's like being in the environments that are shown in the guided imagery video. And that's like immersing yourself entirely in those calm environments and surrounding yourself with the calming music or the calming ambience that would be in those videos. That's like totally diving in and being a part of that and basically helping you to completely separate yourself from reality if that's bothering you. That's why I feel like VR is extremely important and can be very helpful in a therapeutic way, especially for sleeping, which is what I'm covering. Okay, before I forget here, this is something that some maps have, and like I said, it can be helpful. I'm very bad at explaining things without rambling on to different topics, so you'll have to forgive me on this. Sleeping Companion. It is Blue Coon, of course. You can, I don't think you can interact with any of your parts there, but that's not what we're here for anyways. Some maps that have beds, have sleeping companions that they can enable. And someone might be, it's VR, so you can't really judge people for doing what they do. But virtual sleeping companions can be helpful for people who don't have anyone else to sleep with. Yeah, you can raise the covers too. Yep, she's in there. She's tucked in now. Now you can't see the boobas. But yeah, you can. Some maps have like a sleeping buddy, and other maps have like virtual waifu pillows or sleeping pillows too. So you can kind of simulate having one if you don't already have a body pillow. Which, honestly, I recommend having a body pillow or something that you can like prop your legs or your body on to kind of help your. It's supposedly like it can help your back, but also just the. Especially if you don't have, an actual person to hold when you're laying down or something, that feeling of like putting your arms around something. I don't know if they explain why it helps, even if it's just like a pillow, if you're doing it to a pillow, but it's extremely helpful and comforting. Like if you have something like that, maybe because it simulates like holding on to another human being. And there's also, that's why I wouldn't make fun of this. Even though it's virtual, it's like a virtual waifu and it's a sleeping companion, because people actually do get comfort out of, if they don't have like an actual body to hold, they get comfort out of pillows, like either a small pillow or a body pillow, long ways, which can sometimes be helpful for the back. And then like I've seen in the Japanese market at least, and these are for comfort reasons too, but they have these pillows that have like an arm or something around them that sort of like the arm goes around like your neck, so it feels like somebody who's like wrapping their arm around you, and it's a pillow at the same time, and that can also be extremely comforting as well. But let's back to the VR stuff though. Sleeping companions can be very helpful. There's a few maps that have them. I don't have a list. Maybe I'll have to compile them. There's of course. Even though they probably get, they're sort of like, people make fun of them, or they're kind of like a joke, or they got silly sex things in them or whatever, or they might be looked at as ERP maps. The Shangri-La maps, anything like that has like this, like a chair station or a bed station that's movable. Now, granted, people are probably going to look at that and go like, oh yeah, you're going to have somebody sit in that and like reposition them so you can do the dirty with them. But they're actually good for if you need to have a virtual sleeping companion, or if you want someone to, let's say if you want someone to sleep with you, like an actual person in VR, but they don't have like FPT or proper means of laying down, right? Those maps that have like the movable stations are really useful for that. So you can have someone else sit in that station, reposition them to like maybe a laying position, and then like lay on them or whatever if you need to for comfort. It's not just for ERP. You can use those for sleeping as well. That's another tip for you. But yeah, sleeping companions. There's Shangri-La also has another one that has like a thing where you can, you can use an alt account if you want to if you don't have anyone. Let's say you can't find a map that has a sleeping companion, right? You don't have an actual person to sleep with. to become a sleeping companion, right? Well, what the fuck do you do now? You can make an alt account. And honestly, like people who do make their own maps or test avatars, sometimes we make alt accounts so that we can do a lot of testing. Don't judge me, okay? Just because I say it's an alt account doesn't mean it's just for the other thing, all right? Alt accounts are very useful for testing, and especially if you encounter maps that have like stuff that's meant for two people, and maybe you don't want to have like another live person there to test stuff with, or you just want to test stuff yourself. Now, you can utilize those maps. Like if you have an alt account and you get enough trust to find avatars or something like that, if you want to create your own virtual sleeping buddy out of someone's avatar or your own, and you don't have anyone to sleep with, that's an option. You can go to those maps, put like one, and there are ways to have two instances running at the same time on the same computer, depending on your setup. So you can have one instance, go into a map and you can have them like lay in a bed station or something, or whatever setup they have for multiple avatars. You can have that avatar lay down and become your sleeping buddy, and then you just lay down however you want to lay down. There you go. You have like a virtual sleeping buddy. And hey, you could have in that way, you could have a sleeping buddy of your choice, of your favorite character or whatever. I'm not going to judge. We all fucking do it. Like a lot of us in VR chat do it. You want to sleep with your waifu or your favorite character because it gives you comfort? Fucking do it. I'm not going to judge you. It's an option. It exists. Now, I rambled on enough. I wanted to show you the reason I'm using the Nacho Bean Man himself is because I have GoGo Loco on here. But you want to make sure you don't necessarily have to have colliders on to use it, but sometimes it helps. I'm not going to put colliders on in this map. So I have GoGo Loco on this avatar. It's got a lot of options for locomotion, movement, and positions. But it has this interesting... Let me get myself in a pose here. If you don't have FBT, and actually, you know what? Even if you have FBT, some of us get lazy and don't want to charge our trackers or put trackers on. And honestly, here's another thing too. Why GoGo Loco is very helpful if you're going to be sleeping in VR. Before I get to the physical stuff, let me mention GoGo Loco and why it's so useful, or anything that's similar to it. Vibe trackers. They're great for trying to like simulate body movement if you got them on, but say you want to lay down and put a blanket over you. Or let's say your room setup where your base stations are set up in a very specific way where laying on a bed or maybe you have a futon like I do or a couch where they're going to get kind of the tracking is not going to completely pick up like where exactly you're laying down. My base station's like I have one corner room, the other corner of the room, and then the futon. I'll show it later because I have to show my physical setup to sort of get the sense of what I have to do when I sleep in VR. But the tracking can get obscured when you have the vibe trackers, or maybe you put a blanket on you. It gets obscured. So having FBT doesn't guarantee you're gonna, it's gonna be great when you're trying to actually lay down and sleep in them, because more often than not, like the trackers, it's gonna lose tracking, get obscured, and then your body's just gonna become a pretzel. And maybe that doesn't, that's not gonna matter so much if you're laying by yourself for a while, but if you're laying with other people and you want to actually look like a normal like being and not a pretzel or some sort of like cosmic horror when you're sleeping, things like GoGo Loco are a lot better. Like when you can use FBT to lay down, but when you're actually ready to finally sleep or position yourself and you're comfortable and you don't want your body moving around so much, use something like GoGo Loco and disable the FBT. Unless you have something like, I don't know, Slime VR or whatever that's supposed to be, be able to be detected through like objects or whatever. And it doesn't get obscured. Otherwise, GoGo Loco, I'm going to get into a laying position here. Okay, you see that I went through the bed. Okay, so even if you don't have a colliders in the maps and you're using a sleep position in GoGo Loco, right? You can use the GoGo Loco has a feature where you can raise yourself. So you can raise yourself up with GoGo Loco. It actually goes, you can go pretty high too, but I'm going to reposition myself down to make it seem like I'm actually on the bed, even without the colliders. So this thing, it's extremely useful. Also, I'm going to, you notice how I'm moving around? Now, when you're making your own avatars, there's supposed to be a way to do this in Blender, but I honestly forgot. There's a way to do it on your own, but if you don't have it, or you forget to do it in Blender, and you don't want your body moving around when you're sleeping, GoGo Loco has a way to just lock it in. So I just locked it in. Now my body's not moving. And actually, it's great to sleep in, like if you can get in the right position. The only issue, let me unlock myself with, I guess GoGo Loco, is you're going to be limited, like if you want to be seen in a certain sleeping position. It has a limited positions, but you can customize it to where you can put in your own laying position. So, for example, if you were the kind of person to lay in a very specific way, like you lay on your side or like on your stomach or something, whatever, you could probably create animations and then replace the ones in GoGo Loco. That way it's looks like a little bit more like what you would actually be like when you're laying down. Because it has, it's got laying on the side and 2 laying on the back poses on default, but you can customize those. So this is a way with the lock-in and the raise feature. This is a way with GoGo Loco you can actually just sleep in wherever you want. Like you don't need the bed options. You don't need colliders. You can fucking sleep like I went to. You want to sleep in a post-apocalyptic like town or in the water or underneath the ocean or on top of a skyscraper or something? This is how you can do it. Like, fuck beds. You don't have to sleep on beds. You have, with this, or if you have something else that operates like it, you can sleep wherever the fuck you want. You want to sleep at the edge of a cliff, like near an ocean or some shit like that, you can use this to do it. So it'll allow you to have more options, so you're not stuck just having to go like, oh, well, I gotta go to a sleep map in order to sleep. I gotta go to a map that's good for ERP that's got a bed in it, so you can sleep in. No, with GoGo, actually with the combination of GoGo Loco and the OVR Advanced settings with the brightness and its ability to move the play space as well, you can use those 2 things to sleep wherever you want. And it's great. It allows you to just sleep wherever the fuck you want. Okay, I'm back in my own world now. I wanted to just kind of summarize what makes an ideal world for sleeping, in my opinion. And I'm using my own world as an example. I'm shelling it a little bit, but I have some options here that I made specifically for sleeping. That way, especially for people who don't have full body tracking. I added options in here if you don't have FPT so that you can lay down. Granted, bed stations are tend to be borked sometimes, but it works. It works sometimes. So for example, I have a for maps for sleeping, brightness options. So you want to have the ability to change the lighting to make it dark. If you turn the color, actually I can operate the color here. If you turn everything down, including lights, it's a lot darker. It's dark enough to kind of like sleep in, but in my opinion, you could probably just use the combination of if you have a world that has light sliders and then the OVR Advanced settings to pull it down like really dark if you need to. Another thing is sound. Ambience is really important. Now, some people can sleep without sound, and that's perfectly fine if you've got like tinnitus or anything like that. Funny enough, like having sound, like to offset the sound. The tinnitus in the ears helps a lot. Sometimes people just find, even if you don't have tinnitus, just sleeping with rain or a fan or anything like that, the noise of it helps. So worlds that have, like I have rain in this world, of course it adds like a rain effect on the windows, but you can hear it. I also have a slider for there's a train car ambience in the background. Some people might find that calming, other people's don't. So like, it's good if a world has some sort of ambience in it, it's good to have a slider, to turn it up and down. I think that the rain is not included in that slider, but that's fine. Bed stations, if you don't have FBT or GoGo Loco, as I explained earlier, having a station works. So if you make your own maps, having a bed station for people to lay in can be quite useful. So I have the also colliders as well, because if people do have FBT or GoGo Loco, sometimes colliders, just in case, like, so people don't like fall through the floor when they're trying to lay down, colliders can help. So colliders here, and then beds. So whenever I enable beds, see, there's a thing here. Now this does this bed stations, well, at least at the most basic, will put you in a position facing upward where you're looking up. That way you can like kind of get lay down and sleep and have it like visually look like you're laying down in VR and looking up. But to other people, because of how borked bed stations can be, your body might pretzel a little bit, so mine isn't exactly together in the bed station, but if you're by yourself, it's probably not going to matter. So that at the very basic, like the bed stations can help, but if you have GoGo Loco or FBT, you can easily lay down if you need to. Second, GoGo Loco, if you don't have, if there aren't bed stations or you don't want to use one, and you want to look like a normal human being, and not a pretzel, you can use GoGo Loco and lock your body in when you move your head. That way the body does not move. That's the second option for helping to lay down. Third option, of course, is body tracking. There are different ways to do so. There are the Vive trackers. There are things like Slime VR. There are hip trackers that can be used through phone apps. And supposedly you can use the Xbox Connect to also track your body to help lay down. But it isn't always the easiest. And the reason, like I said earlier, that I recommend GoGo Loco more is because trackers do get obscured. And your body will probably pretzel if you try and lay down where your base stations cannot detect. Supposedly, things like Slime VR You do not need base stations. I think it works with like the headset, so you don't have to worry about putting a blanket on yourself and it obscuring your body. Okay, so that's the basics of the virtual side of things. Now I'm going to go over physically sleeping. Yes, I'm finally getting to the physical part because that's what's important, right? Actually being able to physically sleep while you're in VR. How do you get comfortable? Well, I'm going to show you. I'm going to switch to Meat Space and show you my setup to show you how I try to do VR. It may not work for everyone, but this is kind of like how I managed to do it. So let me switch to Meat Space mode. You'll see my dumbass in just a minute. Okay, I do not have a fancy setup here. This is not my actual bed, but this is a futon that I lay on. And honestly, for VR sleeping, I really would recommend having like a couch or a futon or something to lean on, because especially if you have a heavier headset like the Index, like with what I have, and not something like the Quest or the Oculus, to lean against, because the Index is a lot heavier than oh hi buddy, than the other headsets. So you want to find here's the major thing with the Quest and like the Oculus headsets. Those things can be wireless, so like you already have like some weight taken off because you don't have to worry about a cable. But with the Index, you have to worry about a cable. It has extra weight to it. The strap, like I know with the Quest headsets, they have different straps that they come with. So apparently, like people who slept in VR who use the Quest have like a different kind of strap that they can switch to that allows for more comfort when laying down. As for the Index, well, you have testing 1 2 3. You have so many parts to worry about. Now, with the Index, you have the back of it. It has a hard back on it, and there's a lot of pressure that gets put on the sinus area when you're wearing it. And there are like there's a lot of like DIY stuff around the Index headset and people who are trying to develop things for the sake of comfort. So you can probably look into those to help get some of the weight off. Like even when wearing it normally, I know there's like stuff out there, but I don't know like the specific sites. It's just stuff that I hear about. So you might be able to find that. However, for sleeping, for right now, what I have to do is, having something to lean against is very important. I feel if you're going to be sleeping in VR with something as heavy as the Index, and also having a lot of pillows. I sleep with a lot of pillows normally. Someone would probably think this is a horrifying amount of pillows, but I have postural tachycardia and some other issues, and normally it's ideal for me to sleep on a mountain of pillows. So I do that anyways. For VR, you definitely want to prop yourself up in a way and lean against something in order to take the weight off your sinus area and some of your neck and everything. For me, I also got if you want to try and laying on your back, getting a neck pillow. You know those neck pillows you get like for travel or anything like that. This one's like really plush and firm, and it offers some pretty good neck support for the Index, like when you're wearing it and when you're laying down. It pretty much encompasses your neck. You want to make sure it's not tight though. Make sure you don't feel like you're being squeezed to death when you're wearing something like that. But it definitely puts some support under the Index around your neck so that you're not feeling that weight there. It also takes some of the weight off from the front of the Index pressing against your sinus tooth, so that can definitely help. Now, I'm going to try, if I can, I'm going to attempt to try and simulate what it would be like to lay down with the headset and see how that goes.
Okay, here I'm about to prepare to lay down. I have the neck pillow around my neck and I'm adjusting the headset. I did things like wrap around the cord. Make sure the cord is wrapped around the back instead of like underneath your back. And also make sure the head strap is secure. I'm pointing there to loosen up the area where the headset is on your sinuses. You can actually like adjust it upwards. If you're gonna be like laying down, you can actually like push it up away from your sinuses. So I'm leaning back. This is like laying on your back with the headset. I have like a mountain of pillows, so I'm leaning upwards with the neck pillow, and that neck pillow is actually supporting the weight of the headset quite a bit. And then here I have a side position. As you can see here, I'm pointing at this pillow. I have a very small pillow, and I have it basically. It's being tucked between my arm on that side, again, leaning against the futon, and the headset itself. So, once again, with the combination of the neck pillow and that small pillow that's tucked underneath the headset and my arm, it is basically cushioning the weight, which kind of takes it off of the face if you're laying down. Also, leaning against something helps as well. Here it's the same thing, just on the opposite side. I tuck the pillow and sort of like this position here to add support. I'm also loosening the back of it, which is something you can do as well. That little twisty thing in the back of the headset you can loosen to provide extra comfort. So basically, it's all about supporting the head, taking off the weight, leaning against something if you can, having as much cushion around you as possible, and you can also loosen up like the back, and also you can lift away the front of the headset away from your nose. There is a way to do that, depending on how your head strap and other parts are adjusted on the index.
Okay, I'm in my FBT again, just to test it out. I still have to use, if you do use full body, when laying down or to just get relaxed, and worlds don't have colliders, the OpenVR advanced settings, or OVR Advanced settings, is still really good. The play space mover really helps with worlds if the beds or other things you're trying to lay on, especially in FBT, don't have like proper colliders or anything. It doesn't always matter for FBT, but sometimes like with positioning it can help. So, relaxation. I'm at the end of the video. I've given all the tips for you for trying to get comfortable. But what if you need like a little extra to actually be able to sleep? It's not like it's easy to just instantly fall asleep, right? Even if you have everything set up that you need to. Maybe the ambience. Let's say the ambience of a world and the lighting and everything isn't enough, right? Well, you kind of have to, if you're going to be sleeping in VR, you still have to apply real world stuff to it, right? So, and I'm going to kind of discuss some adult things too here, if you don't mind. But if you are someone that, let's say, like, if you do things like partake in melatonin or CBD or anything like that, that would still, if that helps you sleep like normally, without being in VR, you should probably consider, try it while you're using VR as well. Like, the thing is like, if you have something that you can ingest or put a dropper in or something like that, like, CBD or something, where it takes a little bit to kick in, that way you have time to actually, like, set up your VR and lay down and everything, that helps. But, what if you need other ways? Like, there are some two other things. And you'd probably be wondering, okay, how do I do that while in VR? Let's say I'm already in VR. Maybe you're exploring worlds or you're with friends or something, and it's getting late and it's time. Maybe you want to go off somewhere alone, find somewhere to sleep, or be by yourself, or maybe you're with friends and you want to like relax somewhere, right? One of these things is okay to do around a bunch of people. The other one is more private. But let's say you need to relax, get in the mood for sleeping. And let's say you have problems with anxiety or something, and maybe like the immersion, maybe you just need a little bit more on top of being in VR, like being immersed in VR to kind of help you like get completely asleep. Because this is like VR can be pretty therapeutic on its own, but maybe you need just a little bit extra. Let's say it would help you to be able to watch, let's say you can like watching guided meditation videos. Maybe that helps you. Or maybe you have like tinnitus, and while you're in VR and everything, maybe you need like something extra noise wise to help you sleep, right? Well, how do you watch stuff in VR while you're laying down? There's two ways to do it, but there's one that I recommend. And there I think there's some other apps that can do it too, but the main ones are Steam VR has its own, like if you just click into the Steam VR menu, you can access your desktop and watch things from there if you want to. That's one way to do it, but that kind of takes you out of the world that you're in, because essentially it puts the if you're in VR chat, it puts it on standby. So it puts it on standby, puts you in AFK, so you can view like the stuff on your desktop or anything that you might have playing in the Steam VR view. But what if you want to like watch stuff in VR chat and you don't have like a good way? I mean, there are worlds that have players, right? Some of them are good to relax in, or good for sleeping. And you have something on YouTube you want to watch. That's easy, right? But what if you have something you want to watch that you can't, and maybe the world doesn't have a player? Then you can use OVR Toolkit. OVR Toolkit's another tool that I tend to use in VR, and it's really good for popping up multiple screens for you to use it wherever you're at in VR. Whatever your map you're in, if it doesn't have a player or anything, no worries. I mean, and this is only good if you're by yourself, because if you're with people, they're not going to be able to see the same stuff you are. If you're using OVR Toolkit, it's only going to show up to you. So, and that's something you can actually get in Steam. So if you want to watch, let's say there's videos on a site or YouTube or wherever, and the world doesn't have a player for you to put things in. So, say you have a video you want to fall asleep to, guided meditation, or maybe there's a movie or whatever, wherever it is. Or maybe you have like Netflix or something, and you want to watch something like, to fall asleep to. Well, you can use OVR Toolkit to do that. And I can't really demonstrate it. There's guides for OVR Toolkit, but it's something that it'll show up on your wrist when you load it. It's on Steam, and basically you can use it to just pop up multiple screens. And you set like different sources to those screens, and you can play whatever you want to play. One thing that people like notice that they kind of forget to check, and this is something you should check. I'm telling you, in case you miss it, to allow you to play things at 60 frames per second. But the default for OVR Toolkit is like an eco mode, so it puts it in like a very low frame rate. So if you want to watch stuff like when you're in a VRC map and you want to watch it at the actual frame rate, you're gonna have to like go into the settings and tick off that eco mode, and then you can watch stuff at 60 frames per second. And that's good for the other type of way of being able to relax, and that's part. I gotta mention it because that's one way for people to actually be able to relax. I see it, getting off, doing the, whatever you call it, however you get off. To me, it's like just it's a health benefit. It's just like a healthy thing to do. It's also can be helpful for, say, if you have like problems sleeping, you don't engage in like substances, or you don't take CBD or medication or anything like that to help. and other stuff isn't working, you can try that. Try and get off in VR. I actually kind of recommend it because VR, there's VR apps outside that for that if you want, where you can just lay down, and there's VR porn. But if you don't want to do that, but you still want to lay down in VR chat, but you want to watch something to get off to that's on like a porn site or something, you can use OVR Toolkit to pop up those windows and be able to do it that way and get off. And the thing is like it kind of helps too. Like, I'm sure CBD does the same thing. I haven't been able to like engage in it much because my body's a sensitive fuck sometimes, so it's hard to get into those things as much as I want to if I need help with sleep or anything like that. But the chemicals that come from pre-cum, more often than not, it usually it helps you relax. It also can act as a painkiller. So with something as a heavy headset, another thing that can help with like trying to ignore the fact that you have this big ass thing on your face is if you're zonked out. I'll tell people, hey, it helps. Like if you need something a little extra, if you got this something you're facing, you want to try sleeping in it, I don't recommend getting wasted and drunk and knocking yourself out just to be able to sleep in VR, because a lot of people do that. They don't do it to sleep in VR. It just happens. They, because there's a lot of partying that goes in VR chat, and like a lot of people get drunk, and then you might encounter them like passed out somewhere. It doesn't matter where, just completely knocked out and just snoring with a lot of people around them. Don't do that. Like, I won't judge you too much, but don't use that method to try and knock yourself out to go to sleep. If you're someone that partakes in CBD, that can help definitely get you relaxed, and will probably help with like the whole like just feeling the thing on you. If you got something heavy like the index on your face, also the post-cum relaxation chemicals that come from that actually like makes you like extremely relaxed. So that can help as well. I recommend just like whatever method you use to relax and try and get to sleep, try that in VR as well. If it's possible to do it while you have the headset on. And you can use like the different tools outside of VRC, like using OVR Toolkit or whatever to be able to watch stuff to help you relax. Because try it in VR and go find like a map. There's a ton of like calming ambient maps, and like try something. If it's something you tried in real life to relax and go to sleep, try it out like in VR chat. Go to a world that's like really cool and calm and everything, and like I don't know, rub one out or something. It's amazing, like doing stuff in the VR maps. It's try it. I recommend it, honestly. Take advantage of the technology. This is the future. I'm sorry to ramble so much because I do that. But anyways, I'm gonna go. I hope something in this video helps someone if they're interested in VR sleeping. I don't recommend doing it all the time. If it's convenient, if you honestly like, for me, the times I've done it is usually if it's not like after, an event or doing stuff with other people. If I needed to get away from meat space and I needed something to like help me cope with stuff, or it can actually, sleeping in VR, it can be very therapeutic if you can kind of get things set up the right way. If you can get relaxed properly, and you follow my methods for sleeping, the way I have my pillow set up and everything, it works for me. Might not work for everyone. Try different things with your sleeping position to see what works, and try and get that the weight of the headset off of your face to kind of help. It helps me, like so hopefully, I don't know, hopefully it helps you. Try it out once, see how you like it. Sometimes it takes more than once to get used to it. So, and also try different maps too. Don't just go to the sleeping maps. use the different methods that I discussed in the video to go like, you like rain, you like water, you like the sound of water, you like the sound of this thing or that. Try and go to those maps and use the OVR Advanced settings. Use the brightness settings outside of VR chat in that app and like some other stuff, and to kind of adjust things, even if it's not meant for a sleeping map, so that you can actually sleep in it. Because I've been able to sleep all kinds of places that aren't sleep and chill. I know those maps are good for people generally for their basic sleeping maps, but it's kind of boring to me. It's like, oh well, I already sleep in a fucking bed in real life, and this is VR. Like, I can go wherever I want here. Why the fuck would I sleep in a bed, even though I'm in one right now? But I'm just laying here just for the sake of it. Yeah, go sleep on a fucking cliff or something. I don't fucking care. Try it out. Go sleep in a laboratory or under the ocean or whatever. Try it out and see how you like it. It might take a little bit to get used to. Alright. See you guys later.